Okay, so tonight I made some videos. Well, I was working on a video and my phone ran out of space. And so it just shut off, and so I had to address that. And I was literally on Senate Bill 124 when that happened. So I'm just going to put the videos up, and I'm not sure what I'm going to title them as or what I'm going to put in the description. Obviously, I'm not an expert at this. This information I think is important, and if it's important to you, if this matters to you, I don't know, because no one's telling me that, give me a thumbs up, say something in the comments, tell me you want more. My haters even disappeared. I don't know where my haters went. I got like one comment the other day from a hater, but I'm just gonna keep going with Senate Bill 124. So this one will be about Senate Bill 124. I explained in my previous videos that I made today, and I'm just gonna put them up, but I explained in them that the audio is it's cut weird. You can go to the state archives yourself and get the audio yourself. You just go to their website. They're trying to go digital with everything. They're trying to put everything online. So I know that you can get Senate Bill 124 for sure. They don't have everything up, but they're working on it. I know you can get Senate Bill 124. So I don't really want to start at the beginning of the audio. This stuff is not what I want to be doing with my life. But I'm passionate about it. I'm passionate about it for a few reasons. One of the main reasons is Richard Koenig is my closest, dearest friend, and they're hurting him. They're hurting him because he has been exposing this stuff. So the information that I am giving to you, he has taught me. He has done all the footwork to expose this stuff, and the state of Oregon is hurting him. They have hurt him and are hurting him. And so one of the main reasons why I'm doing this is for him, for my children, for your children. The truth is what I seek. It's what matters. And there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of people out there who are exercising their rights to travel, and there are a lot of people just slandering them. This is dangerous. The police officers, law enforcement, they don't understand. They don't know. They're just order followers, and people are dying. Chase Allen in Utah, he lost his life to police officers in I'm not sure exactly where in Utah, for this. For this. So, I'm not going to delete my previous recordings. I'm just going to put them up as is. And, I'm going to start this again with Senate Bill 124. So this one will be about Senate Bill 124. I encourage you to go and bear with me and go and watch the other recordings that I'm going to put up tonight. And, so I'm going to hit play for Senate Bill 124. Oh, and
Senate Bill 124.
And to give you more context, this is May 14, 1985. This is going to be tape number 159 and 160. And the reason why is because of how it is put up in the audio. This recording right here is tape number 159. And when it starts, it just jumps right into they're working on a bill already. And they're talking about a bill. And then they go into a bill 118, and then they go up to 124, and then just after this they start the beginning of the day, like the audio is all cut up, or I don't know what, you can, I'll put the raw audio up as well, but I'm doing there's a cat in here and he just leaped off the table and is wiggling my camera. But anyways, I'll put the raw audio up too, but I encourage everybody to get this for yourselves as well from the state archives. So this is Senate Bill 124.
Excuse me, may I consult?
It takes such a long time.
And Harper.
Ben Harper. Okay, Claudia.
Senate Bill 124, A.M. Roast. It's a bill that the subcommittee spent quite a bit of time on. Current law requires that all the vehicles that must be registered must also be titled. However, the law does not allow the Motor Vehicles Division to title and register vehicles that are not required to be titled and registered. Some people would like to title and register unregistered vehicles for their own protection.
And I know we know this. We know this if you've been listening to the previous videos that I've been putting up in the last few days, weeks, whatever, week or whatever, 9 days. We know this. There was a subcommittee. Now we're and all these bills have been they're doing 20 bills on this day, on May 14th, 1985. They're going over 20 bills, and the subcommittee has already gone over them, and they've already been through the Senate. Now they're in the House. So this is the House.
Inconvenience. An example, and I'll use one that Joanne Peterson has used several times, is a light trailer. A light trailer under 8,000 pounds is not required by law to be titled and registered. Some people choose to title and register them because other states require that they be titled and registered. It saves them some hassle if they have to go into another state. There are other examples, but this is what's been called the optional title bill. Senate Bill 124A gives DMV the authority to issue titles and registrations, and I might add,
Gives the authority for the DMV to, by rule, they have to make a rule. They didn't make a rule. They did not make a rule. They made a rule for the optional title 20 years later. And then, like 8 years after that, they repealed it. So we're back to 1985. They don't have the authority by law to sell titles and registrations. They didn't make the rules. They never made a rule for the registration, the optional registration. And here we are.
Allows them to, by rule, provide for the issuance of titles.
By rule. Another thing is there is a difference between vehicles that are subject to, or not, I'm sorry, vehicles that are not subject to, and then vehicles that are exempt, which mean, they might be subject to, but have exemptions. There is a difference between vehicles that are not subject to and vehicles that are exempt. Those two things are different.
That are not subject to vehicle titling and registration requirements. The bill in no way requires titling or registration for vehicles that are not required to be registered.
Not required.
Titled in the law. The banking industry was concerned with the bill since permissive titling would allow vehicles to be titled without showing a security interest while the vehicle was under a chattel lien filed with the Uniform Commercial Code Office. It's part of the Secretary of State's office. The subcommittee determined that the problem would exist with certain vehicles with or without SB 124A, and SB 124A would in fact give DMV rulemaking authority, which would provide an opportunity to solve the potential problem presented by the banking industry. There was someone here from the banking industry earlier, and he seems to have left. I will elaborate if the committee would like me to.
Madam Chair,
Representative Banzer.
about a week ago, we had a bill, I think deals with titling of farm equipment. Is that right? Implements of husbandry? Correct? And we had a long, elaborate discussion about the problems incurred with that. And I'm wondering if it wouldn't be appropriate to take this bill and that bill and discuss them together, because they're dealing with the same, essentially the same issue. This is more generic, and that deals with a specific.
I'm trying to remember, Representative Banzer, what did we do with, we had the hearing on that one,
We didn't do anything with it.
and that one was mandatory titling of implementation.
Right, and it deals with I think that was at the request of Jenny Jones, wasn't it? Requesting that new equipment be titled, and then we was concerned about what do you do with used equipment. Anyway, just for clarity's sake, that is extremely germane to this, and I just make a suggestion. It gets into it. Well, opens a whole new issue of titling, and I think the ramifications have a tremendous rippling effect. My recollection of this specific bill was that it's codifying what they're already doing. That in fact they're doing it.
Codifying what they're already doing.
They're asking us to sanction their prior practice.
They're asking them to sanction their private practice. They're doing something illegal. Admittedly, they admitted that they're not authorized by law. They're selling titles and illegally selling titles and registration that they're not authorized to sell. And by asking them to do this, it's codifying their private practice of doing it.
Which is, I mean, there may be some legitimacy for that, but I do think that this, in conjunction with that other bill, is of a significant new public policy that it ought to be looked at in context and discussed.
In fact, Representative Banzer, I remember at that hearing you suggested that the whole issue might be an interim committee study. I guess maybe I don't see the bills conflicting, because this is permissive and it would allow them to do it while that's mandatory. Quite frankly, I'm not even sure that we have that other bill scheduled for work session. And so I guess maybe I personally would like to go ahead with this bill, and because it is permissive and it doesn't screw up anything, but certainly
It doesn't?
is open to discussion with the committee.
And Madam Chair, I'm not arguing against that. I'm only raising the attention that we did have another one.
No, I know that. I know. Is there any discussion? Any motions? Anything?
I have a question.
Representative Harper.
This is substantially rewritten from the first bill that we worked on in the subcommittee. Is that true, or am I just memory bad?
You might remember, Representative Harper, that I think there were 3 subcommittee meetings devoted to this bill. This bill came back, and there were several problems that were addressed along the way. And what you've got before you is amended amendments and such.
What I remember in the original bill, there was a section in there to provide where you could get out of the titling procedure if you went into it voluntarily. In the original bill.
The only amendments made to this bill, Representative Harper, are conflict amendments, and I have a copy of them.
Madam Chair. Representative Vance, do we have, maybe it's more for Claudia, do we have a record of what the vote was in our subcommittee and or the discussion minutes from that?
Okay, yes. Madam Chair, Representative Banzer, there is a record the bill went from the subcommittee with a unanimous vote from the subcommittee.
Well, all I can say, Claudia, I can't find the things in the bill that I objected to, so if I'm thinking of another bill, that's all right. I don't see any problem with this one.
Madam Chair,
Claudia?
Representative Harper, are you referring to the language that said once a vehicle is titled, it's always titled unless there's a reason why it shouldn't be?
Yeah, well, wasn't that language in the original bill?
It is still here.
And it's still here? Mm-hmm. But wasn't there provision so that you didn't always have to do it in the original bill?
I mean, you didn't always have to maintain the title once it was titled.
This bill and the original, they both provided that you could go and get a vehicle titled, even though the law didn't say that you had to. And this bill says that, and so did the original. And I thought in the original bill there was also a provision so that.
Okay, so for whatever reason, it cuts off here on tape number 159 and goes to, if you go to tape number 160, the cutoff will start on the other one. I don't know why they did this. So I go here, and then I'll put 160 on now. And we'll finish. He's talking about, wasn't there provisions to untitle if your car was titled and you want to untitle. I've been at this for a while tonight, and so I'm ready to be done. But I encourage everybody to just go and listen to the other videos that I'm putting up. And okay, let's
Just if you didn't want to title it anymore and keep it registered.
if you didn't want to title it anymore and keep it registered.
Section 3 provides for that. It says it's titled, once it's titled, it's always titled unless the vehicle becomes titled in another jurisdiction or if the
Once it's titled, it's always titled.
owner establishes that the vehicle is no longer subject to vehicle titling requirements. So yes, there is a way
The owner.
to get out of it
There's a way to get out of it
if you choose to
if you choose to.
get rid of the title. But you have to go through a procedure with DMV to do that.
Do you? Do you really?
Generally, that's to protect anyone who might be a security interest listed on the title.
Banks.
Well,
Or
it's
lender.
required to comply with the vehicle titling provisions for the vehicle code for any reason. I never did think that made any sense. And that's the exemption.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever determined what that meant?
Madam Chair, Representative Harper, if I'll read it in its entirety, subsection 1 of this section applies to a vehicle issued a certificate of title by the state, even if one of the following applies to the vehicle. So what it's saying is that permissive titling can be done even if at some time the vehicle becomes eligible for an exemption for titling requirements, or it does get to be sort of strange legal language, but the issuance of a certificate of
Strange legal language. Strange legal language. Come on.
title was permissive under Section 2, and 3, that the vehicle is not required to be titled. So really, Section 2 sub C is saying that if a vehicle is not required to be titled, it can still be titled under Section
Well, the
1 of
point
this
is
section.
that line C makes unnecessary everything that preceded before it. If for any reason covers A and B, or anything else that you can think of that would disqualify.
Yeah, I'm trying to think through it. Section 1 says that a vehicle, Section 1, I shouldn't say Section 1, Sub 1 of Section 3 says that once a vehicle is titled, it remains titled unless it becomes titled in another jurisdiction, or if the owner can establish that it's not subject to title requirements. Section 2 says that subsection 1 applies even if the vehicle becomes eligible for an exemption, number 1, and number 2, that the issuance was permissive. It still has to be titled as long as it's titled. And that 3, that the vehicle is not required to be titled. So even if a vehicle is not required to be titled, once it is titled permissively, it will remain titled. And that's what sub C stands for. It is confusing language. I agree.
It is confusing language. I would agree, but pass it anyways, because we need that.
Okay.
Okay.
I had to read it about 3 times.
Madam Chair, Representative Banzer, may I ask Representative Harper a question?
Sure.
Are you concerned that once it's titled, it remains titled forever? I was trying to
Well,
follow the drift of your questioning.
Yeah, that was the thrust of my discussion with it. This was,
The vehicle is required to be titled and registered for business purposes. Taxi cab, school bus. I'm not sure about a school bus. No, not school bus, but like trucks, business vehicles that are using the general public's highway for compensation, for money. If you're using our roads, the wear and tear that you cause as you're going up and down the roads all the time for business, for your business, and you're getting paid for it, you're required, the business, is required to have a license, title, registration, insurance, all this is for commercial purposes. The general public who's just using the roads, which is a matter of right. It is your right. If you're just using the road, you are not subject to any of this. And the statutes that came out of this also specify that, when you title and register your vehicles, you are then subject to the Motor Vehicle Code.
a message thing. if you want to title something that the law requires, doesn't require to be titled, I was hoping that you also had the opportunity to stop
Untitle it.
doing the
So if
thing.
you sold it to somebody else,
Yeah, or
they
you're
could untitle it.
sure, or if you keep the vehicle but you don't have the business anymore. You know, it makes sense.
And it doesn't do that, right?
It does. It does do that.
Well, I don't understand, and I'm confused.
It does that. It says that it remains titled unless you make the determination that you no longer want it titled, and then you have to go through the process to back it out.
That's what I understood the answer to be.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
I
Representative.
move Senate Bill 124 to the floor with the due pass.
Representative Brigiotti moves Senate A and Gross Senate Bill 124 to the floor with a due pass recommendation.
Do
Is
pass.
there any discussion?
Madam Chair,
And answer.
I think I'm going to vote against this because Senator Simmons had a great deal of concern about the checked with Secretary of State for a certificate or DMV, and my previous concerns I think still hold, which is it's a major new area that the state is getting into.
It's a major new area that the state is getting into. She's gonna vote against it.
And it raises a lot of confusion on what is titled, what should be, where do you check to find out if there's a clear title on a large purchase you're making. And I just think it needs to be looked at more in depth.
Representative Banzer, I might point out that although Senator Simmons didn't carry the bill on the floor, he got up and supported it. Also, I think by the third meeting we had on this bill, the banking industry was in support and agreed that it was workable. Am I right?
Workable?
Anyhow, no, we're in work session.
The DMV has admitted to selling illegal titles and illegal registrations, claiming that the general public was asking them to do this. There's no evidence of that. There's so much confusion. They're admitting to it. They're like, I know it is confusing. They're laughing. This is funny. But what did this do? Why did they do this? I'll tell you.
Janet Caldwell.
There in section 2.
Representative Harper. Representative Harper.
Aye. Excuse me.
Representative Hayden.
Aye.
Representative Roberts.
Aye.
Representative Whitty.
Aye.
Representative Lindquist. Representative Banzer.
No?
Representative Brigiotti.
Aye.
Representative Lindquist.
Aye. Okay, we're going to hold off 1 second. You don't see the error. Del, what's the error? You say there's an error in section 2. What is it?
Well,
We
I
don't
think
seem to
you're
find it.
adopting something you don't really intend. Section 2.
There's an error. You're adopting something that you don't really intend. Section 2.
Right.
Motion carried. Why don't you talk to Dell and find out what his problem is before we send it to the floor?
Talk to someone, find out what the error is before we send it to the floor. They've been, look, they got a lot of work to do. They got a lot of work to do. This is a big project that a lot of people are working on. And they're just pushing them through.
His objection to section 2.
Yes, but we were already in work session. Claudia's going to look at it and find out what his objection is. Senate Bill 125.
Senate Bill 125? Do we want to listen to this? I don't know if I want to listen
Senate
to
Bill
this.
125, Madam Chair, members of the committee, is another law relating to titling and registration. Current law meaning prior to the revision puts titling and registration provisions together. The revision separated the two into distinct legal requirements, which, by the way, as an aside, is one reason why the issue of title is becoming perhaps a bigger issue than it has been in the past, because it's never been its own legal entity in the law. The revision, since titling indicates ownership and registration indicates that a vehicle has the right to use the public highways of the state, they are now distinct. Current law provides only for registration records and for the division.
Say that again.
Indicates that a vehicle has the right to use the public highways of the state, they are now distinct.
Nope, gotta go further back.
Issue than it has been in the past, because it's never been its own legal entity in the law. The revision, since titling indicates ownership and registration indicates that a vehicle has the right to use the public highways of the state, they are now.
A vehicle has the right to use the public highways? A vehicle has the right to use the public highways?
Now distinct.
They're now
Current law
distinct.
provides only for registration records and for the division keeping registration records. While there has always been the implication that the division had to keep title records since titles are required for vehicles to be registered, there are no specific provisions setting out what title records must be kept by the division. Senate Bill 125 provides for DMV to establish title records distinct from registration records. The bill also makes it clear that the title document is prima facie evidence of ownership, and also allows that the title and registration information may be stored together. The subcommittee reviewed the new provisions proposed in the bill, and the bill was supported by the subcommittee. Amendments to the bill were to resolve conflicts with SB 125.
With 100.
With 100, I'm sorry.
125. Are there any questions? Any discussion?
This video is already so long.
Representative Rajati moves that we send A and gross Senate Bill 125 to the floor with a do fast recommendation. Is there any discussion? Any objection? So ordered.
So ordered.
Representative Hayden, would you carry this one?
May I defer, Madam Chair?
I'll carry it, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you, Representative Roberts. Okay, it's now 9:45. We have 10 o'clock floor session, so what we will do is carry the remaining bills over until Thursday, which was noted on the agenda when we sent it out. And if there's no more business to come before the committee, we're adjourned.
Okay, so I started with Senate Bill 124, and you just keep coming across so much stuff. It's really, these are historical. These are historical recordings. Oregon started recording all of their governmental hearings in 1957. These are from 1985, and people just need to look into them. So I said that I would tell you why they're doing this. Joanne Peterson from the Motor Vehicles Division, this is